Today we are going to be talking about Companion, which I was very excited about, even though it's, I would say, not typically like my favorite kind of movie, like my favorite genre of movie, but I was just excited to get away from stories about loss and death. Because, like, between Wolfman and Presents, I was just tired of crying in the theater. So it was nice to go into a movie knowing I probably would not cry, and I didn't at Companion. So anyway, we're gonna get into it. Make sure to grab a snack or a little beverage. Today I'm having one of Factor's pressed juices. This is the pineapple, turmeric, and basil. It is so delicious, and Factor is actually the sponsor of today's video. So Factor delivers fresh, never frozen, restaurant quality meals directly to your door, and they're ready in just a couple minutes. All of the meals are dietitian approved, and they have over 35 different options depending what your dietary needs or preferences are. So they have things like keto, protein plus, veggie, vegan, and Ryan and I both work and obviously parent as well. So we love when we have Factor meals in the fridge because it makes for really, really easy lunches. Usually we go for them for lunches. Like today, for example, for lunch, I had the grilled steakhouse filet mignon with Parmesan, creamed spinach, and broccolini with Asiago butter. Like the meat was perfectly cooked and it's not dry at all, even after being reheated in the microwave. And this is one of their Gourmet Plus meals, which are, of course, naturally going to be my favorite meals out of the box. They're great for when you want something a little bit special. And one of my favorite things about Factor that I talk about all the time are these right here, not just the juices. But Factor has over 60 different add-on options. So they have things like breakfast foods, smoothies, pressed juices, protein smoothies, snacks, things like that. Just anything you can think of to add extra things to your week if you are extra busy. In fact, I'm gonna take another drink because I love their pressed juices. They're also super flexible, so you can pause your plan if you need to, or reschedule a delivery, or you can change the number of meals that you receive in a week. And I love that I can still have like super delicious dietitian approved meals even on my busiest days, so I don't have to order takeout as often or get more convenience meals, because that can add up, and Factor actually works out to be cheaper per meal than takeout these days because that is just getting so outrageous. So make sure to head to factor75.com and use my code 50possessed to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That is factor75.com, and my code is 50possessed for 50% off your first box plus free shipping. Okay, can I rant for a second about Companion for just the marketing of it? You probably knew this was coming, that I was going to talk about this, because how can I not? Companion has some of the worst marketing I have seen in such a long time. The first teaser was pure perfection. That was great. I kind of assumed what the story was going to be about, but nothing was revealed in it. Like, you did not know really what was going on. There was hardly any dialogue. It was a perfect teaser. And most movies should actually only ever offer teasers and never show a full trailer ever again. Then we get a full trailer for Companion, never watched it, and then we get a second full trailer for Companion. I feel like they're just offering way too much information. They have the same footage, like rearranged in different ways, and they share dialogue in trailers, and I think that's just stupid. I think we need a new system. For me personally, I would love a vibe edit. Give me a vibe edit of the movie and tell me what the vibe is, you know? Show me some scene, like fast scenes here and there to hook me in, or just do one long take like the teaser where it's just like one scene isolated from the movie, and that'll give me an idea and, you know, pique my interest, and now I want to see it. If you watch full trailers these days, you basically have seen the entire movie. And I know this is really redundant, a redundant talking point, because everyone talks about this. There are a lot of rants out there. I've ranted about it for all the time. Like, this is nothing new, but it's just really frustrating with movies specifically like Companion, where they reveal the full story of the movie within the trailer. Longlegs marketing and the mystery behind the movie, I think, and word of mouth, is why that movie was so successful and so effective, because you didn't know what that movie was going to be about based on the teasers they released. Those were like vibe edits. Those are vibe. That's a vibe. You know, you're telling me what the vibe of the movie is. That's all I need. The plot of the movie should be saved for the actual movie, you know, storylines, things like that. That's to uncover for the movie viewing experience, not before I go into it. I should not know everything that happens. So with Companion, although I guessed kind of what it was going to be about based on the title and the teaser, because I didn't watch the second trailers. Well, I tried to avoid them, but naturally I saw little clips here and there. Even the poster, the movie poster of Companion just spoils it, you know? I still would have liked it to be a reveal within the movie. And I will say it does happen within the first, what, like 20 minutes or something. So it's not the twist of the movie that's reserved for the ending by any means. And that's probably why they inserted it all in the marketing. However, to have a reveal in the movie would have been really nice. It would have been fun. A billionaire's death sets off a chain of events for Iris and her friends during a weekend trip to his lakeside estate. So this is directed by Drew Hancock, who hasn't really done anything super recognizable. I think this is actually his technical directorial debut, and he has done mostly shows in the past. This also is produced by Zach Kreger, who brought us Barbarian. He directed Barbarian, which obviously I love. You can see my little poster up there. This honestly had a very similar sense of humor to Barbarian, so I'd say if you're actually a fan of Barbarian, you would probably like Companion. Zach Kreger wasn't a writer on the film, so I don't think he had really any say in the humor in the movie, but it still had that lighter kind of tone and the funny element going on. In fact, he was actually supposed to direct Companion, but the team decided to make it Drew Hancock's directorial debut. So he was on to direct. So maybe he had more of a hand in it than we think, but yeah, he ended up not directing it. Also, this stars Sophie Thatcher, which I have been seeing a lot of. Obviously, she was in the movie Heretic last November. I've also been watching Yellow Jackets. I'm almost done with season 1. I'm trying to catch up for season 3. I've been really liking that show. I think it's really good, and obviously Sophie Thatcher is amazing, gorgeous. I'm just excited to see her in more things. And then Jack Quaid is our other lead in this. He was good too. Believable. Yeah, the performances were really great. So IMDb describes this movie as dark comedy, psychological, sci-fi thriller. And that's a perfect description of this movie. It definitely leans more on the comedy side. It has like darker themes underlying it, of course, but they don't push it very far, and that's actually one of my criticisms, which we'll get to. And then psychological for sure, sci-fi thriller, yeah. There aren't a lot of horror elements in this besides some of the violence, and some of the violence is a little bit shocking, but I feel like, again, they could have pushed it a little bit more. And violence also does not necessarily mean horror movie. We have to have like a psychological aspect to the violence in order for it to quantify as or qualify as horror, because action movies have violence, you know? So it's not just that gives it a horror edge. I think it's definitely a lot of the story and the psychological components. But that being said, I would say this is a pretty good one for beginners. This would be a great one to watch with people. This is a good date night movie to watch with your partner. This is just very fitting for watching with a group or at a party with your friends, with your significant other, just Valentine's Day. This is a great Valentine's Day movie because it's not really scary. It's not gonna like jump out at you or freak you out or anything like that. It's a fun movie. It is still unsettling, so a lot of the conceptual ideas going on here are more unsettling, hence the psychological aspect. So it still has those elements to it, but it's not like in your face scary horror. I thought this was genuinely funny. I laughed out loud so many times in this movie, and I'm kind of picky when it comes to dark comedies because I don't love humor in my horror. I don't like the mixture. That being said, there are a lot of movies that I like that are considered dark comedies, so, you know, take that with a grain of salt, but this was genuinely funny, and I really, really loved the humor in this movie. It was great. It doesn't take itself too seriously, kind of like Barbarian, but then there are some serious themes going on that it's exploring a little bit, and some unsettling moments like I talked about already. Speaking of themes, I really, really wish they leaned a little bit more into the incel concept that's suggested in this movie. It's a little bit light-handed, and I wanted it to be a little bit more heavy-handed just for entertainment value. I think it would have been fun, and scary. It actually would have added a lot more horror, I think, if they leaned into that. Also the violence, like I mentioned, they really could have pushed that a little bit more. There are some scenes, you know, there's like a head trauma scene, so just be aware of that. There is some gore, gory scenes in it, but I think if they pushed it even farther, I would have loved it so much more, because it would have like kind of upped upped the ante a little bit, you know? I will be doing a couple spoilers just to talk about it. I don't have too much to say in spoilers, but I do want to kind of talk about the overall concept of the movie and what the story's about and things that might spoil it if you've also avoided trailers. But I'll warn you before I get into spoilers, I'm not there yet. The story itself, pretty straightforward and honestly predictable. I found this movie pretty predictable, and it's also a single location, so it's a very like simple, straightforward plot, which honestly is nice. It's nice. We're getting a lot of single location movies this year. I'm not even complaining about that. I don't mind. I really enjoy single location movies. They usually are like really easy watches, easily digestible, nothing too complex or complicated going on. However, that being said, of it being predictable and simple and straightforward, I still found a lot of surprising elements in this movie, and it did genuinely you know, surprised me at moments. It wasn't like a huge blow my mind kind of in that kind of way, but I still found, even with the marketing kind of failing it a little bit, I still found that there are more things within this story and this movie to be discovered along the way, which was nice because I thought I knew everything going in. I don't think it's a perfect movie by any means. That's really all my criticism is. I wish they pushed things a little bit farther, but you know, it is more on the dark comedy side than like true horror, so I understand what they were going for. Entertainment wise is why I give this movie a 4 out of 5. This movie was so entertaining. It was so much fun. Like, definitely see this in a theater with someone else, or you know, just to have a good time, because you know you're not going to get anything that's like, I don't know, you're not going to get overly emotional. It's just, it was really, really good. It was my favorite movie that I've seen in theaters so far this year. I've only seen 3. This is the 3rd one, but out of all of them, this is definitely the best one and the one I'd recommend the most to see in theaters because it's just so fun. It's such a good time. It's like pure entertainment. Now, I do want to get into spoilers a little bit. I tried to avoid the main topic because I don't want to spoil it and do the same thing that the marketing was doing, so I kept it really vague in my general review, but let's get into it. Spoilers ahead. Obviously, we know Iris is a robot. I actually really liked that there was more than one robot in the movie, though, because, I mean, it was still obvious that who the other robot was. Like, as soon as they got to the house and they started talking and he was saying how he met his boyfriend, I was like, I think he's a robot, and sure enough, he was. So Lucas Gage plays the second robot in this movie, who is dating Eli, who I loved the character of Eli. He's played by Harvey Guillen. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. And as a What We Do in the Shadows fan, I was very happy to see him in this role, and it was so fun. He was by far the best like humor in this movie. Like, he is the funniest out of this movie. So I think he's my favorite character, honestly. I liked his character arc, his depth a little bit. He was very entertaining. So this movie does this thing that some movies do that's risky, but they tell you the entire movie, or like they tell you what's going to happen in the end at the very beginning of the movie. So Iris says that there were 2 days of her life that she felt the most alive. So the first time was the day that she met Josh, and the second time was the day that she killed him. So obviously we know where things are going to go and how, you know, this movie is going to end. I think in this case, it's fine, you know, to kind of have that expectation, because that's the outcome that we want as a viewer, because this guy is unlikable and just treats her horribly, and he created this elaborate plan to kill the billionaire, to steal his money. Worst plan ever, by the way. Really terrible plan, stupid. And I feel like the creators know that we know, obviously, because they told us, so they're not afraid to like hold back, and so they just kind of like go along with it. I don't know if I'm describing that well, but I didn't hate it in this scenario. Sometimes that's a risk because you're telling the audience exactly how it's going to end. And some of the deaths were really fun. Can I say that? Can I say that? They were surprising, I should say, like entertaining. Like, I didn't see them coming, really. Any of the deaths, actually. They all were pretty surprising, and they just kind of happen. And you're like, oh, okay, so they just died. I think that added to the entertainment of the movie. And like I said, the violence, I would say, high body count. Like, most of the characters do die, but I feel like they still could have pushed the visual violence a little bit more on screen. There was like one scene that was like, ooh, that's gory. So the ending, I kind of want to talk about because it's a little bit corny. I really don't like endings like this. I'm sorry. It does the same thing that The Invisible Man does. This happens in the end of The Hunt, but it's where there's a little montage of the final girl, and she's now a badass, right? And she's like changing her clothes to be a different persona. She's like a different person now because she's gone through all this stuff, and her attitude's just different because of everything that she went through. And it's supposed to be this like badass moment. And to me, it just reads a little bit cheesy sometimes. Like, that's my only criticism when it comes to The Hunt, and that's a perfect movie otherwise. The ending's a little bit corny, and this does that, and it doesn't even really make sense because she's a robot. So I don't know. I kind of like the messaging, you know, she's found her own person in all of this, and she, you know, survives and goes on to live a life. Who knows? I don't know what she does after, but that's my only criticism about like how this movie ended. I feel like it was a little bit cheesy because I don't love the like montage of with the voiceover of how everything's gonna be different now. Anyway, overall, a really good movie. So fun. Like I said, I gave it 4 out of 5, and yeah, entertainment's 5 out of 5. Like, this is a great rewatch movie because it's just so fun and funny, like genuinely laughed. So I think that's a good sign. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on Companion. If you have seen it, definitely go see it in theaters. I highly recommend it, but I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.